Like when people talk about, your favorite players or the best players in the world, I say Mike and I say Kobe. You know what I mean? And then everybody else.
LeBron's after that for you?
Definitely.
LeBron James apparently said, "Yes, sir, no problem, sir." And in LeBron's next game, he's going to be wearing a patch that says all-time leader made field goals.
Allen Iverson just sparked one of the biggest basketball debates on the internet again. And this time, it's because fans believe he took a subtle shot at LeBron James without even saying his name directly. The moment started blowing up after Iverson talked about the mentality of older legends and how real superstars handle pressure, criticism, injuries, media narratives, and playoff losses back in the day. And almost instantly, NBA fans started connecting the dots. Because whenever people start talking about excuses in today's NBA, LeBron James somehow always ends up in the middle of the conversation. Now, whether Iverson meant it directly at LeBron or not, the timing, the wording, and the reaction online turned this into a full-blown debate about leadership, accountability, and what separates old-school legends from modern superstars. And honestly, the reason this exploded so fast is because there's already tension in basketball culture right now between the older generation and the current. A lot of former players have been openly saying the modern NBA has become too focused on narratives, too focused on protecting legacies, and too focused on explaining losses instead of owning them. Allen Iverson comes from a completely different basketball world. This is a guy who played through injuries, carried weak rosters, fought through nonstop criticism, and still dragged Philadelphia to the finals against one of the greatest dynasties ever assembled. So when Iverson starts talking about how real legends don't need excuses, people immediately look at LeBron, because LeBron has become the center of almost every legacy discussion in basketball.
I'm not that concerned. I know it's the first time he's going to miss the season opener.
The internet especially connected it to the Lakers situation over the last couple seasons. Every time the Lakers lose, the conversation becomes massive. Was LeBron hurt? Was the roster bad? Was the coach the problem? Was Anthony Davis inconsistent? Was the front office terrible? Was the officiating unfair? And while some of those things can absolutely be true, a growing section of NBA fans believes there is always some explanation attached to LeBron losses in a way that didn't happen with older players. That's why Iverson's comments started going viral so quickly. Fans interpreted it as him basically saying the legends he grew up admiring never spent time trying to control the narrative after losses.
So Vogel going to take some of this blame. Right? They're going to point the finger at him. And this is what's really bothers me, Molly and Stephen A. This season was never about winning.
Here's the part nobody is talking about. Allen Iverson knows exactly what it feels like to carry impossible expectations without help. People forget just how insane Iverson's 2001 finals run really was. He averaged over 30 points per game during the postseason and dragged a Sixers roster that had no business reaching the finals through the Eastern Conference. His second best scorer in the finals was Dikembe Mutombo, who was there mainly for defense and rebounding. Meanwhile, LeBron has spent most of his career playing with multiple All-Stars, Hall of Famers, Olympic teammates, and superstar-level supporting casts. So when Iverson talks about surviving, criticism without excuses, fans naturally compare those situations. And this is where the debate gets uncomfortable, because LeBron fans will immediately point out something important. LeBron has also carried weak teams. Before, the 2007 Cavaliers reaching the finals was one of the greatest carry jobs ever. The 2018 playoff run was ridiculous. He has dealt with bad organizations, injuries, weak benches, coaching problems, and front office mistakes too. So to many fans, criticizing LeBron for speaking honestly about roster flaws or injuries feels unfair. But older basketball fans see it differently. They believe Jordan, Kobe, Iverson, Duncan, and those kind of players publicly protected the locker room more often and simply accepted blame faster. That's why this whole thing became bigger than just one quote or one interview clip. It turned into a culture war between generations of basketball fans. One side sees LeBron as the smartest player ever when it comes to controlling narratives, protecting his image, and managing pressure. The other side sees that same behavior as avoiding accountability, and Allen Iverson sitting in the middle of this conversation makes it even more powerful. Because Iverson was never known as a polished corporate superstar. He was raw, emotional, honest, sometimes reckless. But fans respected him because they felt like what they saw was authentic.
I take my chances against anybody. I don't need any help if I got those guys. That would be my personal opinion.
And honestly, authenticity is a huge reason Iverson still connects with fans today. This is a guy who never tried to look perfect. He showed emotion after losses. He fought with coaches. He made mistakes publicly. He got criticized for his clothes, his attitude, his music interests, and even the way he talked. Yet through all of that, fans still saw someone who genuinely loved basketball and competed every single night. That kind of image ages extremely well in an era where fans feel many athletes are overmanaged by PR teams and branding strategies. Meanwhile, LeBron's career has been almost a complete opposite. From the moment he entered the league, everything around him became massive. Every quote gets dissected. Every loss becomes national news. Every playoff series becomes a legacy conversation. So naturally, LeBron learned how to navigate media pressure differently. Some people call it intelligence, others call it manipulation. But regardless of what side you are on, there is no question LeBron became the face of modern athlete branding. And that is why Iverson's comments hit harder than they normally would, because Iverson represents a basketball generation that many fans romanticize now. The old school mentality, the tough image, the just hoop culture, no podcasts after every game, no constant legacy rankings, no social media war rooms trying to defend every bad performance. Fans look back at that era and see players who simply went out there, got criticized, and kept playing.
Hold on. You said LeBron James the greatest player ever?
Ever.
What about Michael and Kobe? So you just gonna pass Kobe up like that?
I'm gonna pass Kobe up. I'm gonna look at Michael. I'm gonna look at the. I'm gonna look at.
I knew it. Patron America.
Yo.
Patron America.
Now, to be fair, nostalgia also plays a huge role here. People love pretending older eras had no drama or excuses when that's not really true. Michael Jordan blamed organizations. Kobe Bryant publicly demanded trades. Shaq constantly criticized teammates. Allen Iverson himself had clashes with coaches and management. So the idea that old school legends never complained is not completely accurate. But what has changed is the speed and scale of modern media. Today, every quote becomes a headline within seconds. Every comment turns into a debate, show, topic. Every playoff loss becomes 20 different viral clips online. This is where it gets dangerous. Because once a player's legacy becomes tied to defending every failure, fans start paying more attention to the explanations in the actual basketball. And that's where LeBron criticism has exploded over the last few years. There are fans who genuinely believe LeBron spends too much time managing how losses are viewed instead of simply accepting them. Fair or unfair, that perception exists now. And when an icon like Allen Iverson talks about legends not needing excuses, it pours gasoline on that fire. What also made this viral was the timing around the Lakers. The Lakers have looked frustrated recently. There's tension around roster, construction, Anthony Davis consistency, coaching pressure, and whether the current group can realistically contend for another title. LeBron is still putting up insane numbers at his age, which honestly is unbelievable. But because he is still chasing championships this late into his career, every playoff disappointment gets magnified. And fans are growing tired hearing about roster flaws when LeBron himself has had influence over many front office decisions throughout his career. That part matters because LeBron's critics always come back to the same argument. If you help build a roster, you also own the consequences. And unlike younger stars who simply inherit whatever situation they enter, LeBron has long been viewed as someone with major influence behind the scenes, trades, coaching preferences, veteran signings, team direction. So when things go wrong, people believe accountability should land on him too. Allen Iverson's career looked completely different. Iverson rarely had organizational control. Philadelphia built around him however they wanted. Sometimes a roster fit worked, sometimes it didn't. But nobody believed Iverson was secretly controlling the front office. That creates a different relationship with fans because it makes the player feel more isolated and more responsible for simply surviving whatever situation they are given. And let's be honest, basketball fans love toughness. Narratives they always have. That's why Iverson stepping over Tyronn Lue became legendary. That's why Kobe playing through injuries became mythology. That's why Jordan's flu game still gets replayed constantly. Fans are obsessed with moments where players appear mentally untouchable. So when modern stars openly discuss fatigue, injuries, chemistry issues, or roster limitations, some older fans interpret that as weakness, even when it might just be honesty. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They underestimate how important perception is in legacy conversations. Talent alone is not enough. Fans judge how you lose almost as much as how you win. They remember body language, interviews, post-game comments, effort, leadership, accountability. Allen Iverson understood that. Even though he never won a championship, fans still respected his fight. That's why his words carry so much weight now. Another reason this hit LeBron conversation so hard is because the GOAT debate has become exhausting. Every generation feels forced to defend its favorite player constantly. Jordan fans defend 6 rings. LeBron fans defend longevity and all-around greatness. Kobe fans defend mentality and killer instinct. And Iverson fans defend cultural impact and toughness. So the second Iverson says anything remotely connected to mentality or accountability, fans instantly use it as ammunition in the larger GOAT war. And honestly, Allen Iverson's influence on basketball culture might be underrated today. He changed the NBA visually and emotionally. The tattoos, the sleeves, the cornrows, the hip-hop connection, the swagger, all of that became mainstream partly because of Iverson. Younger fans today see that style everywhere, but back then it was controversial. He took criticism constantly and still refused to change who he was. That authenticity became part of his legend. LeBron's influence is different. He changed player empowerment. He changed athlete branding. He changed longevity standards. He changed how stars approach business, media, and career management. So in many ways, this debate is really about 2 different definitions of greatness. Iverson represents emotional authenticity and fearless competition. LeBron represents calculated excellence and sustained dominance. Depending on what fans value more, they interpret comments like this very differently. And what makes this whole situation fascinating is that Allen Iverson has actually shown LeBron respect. Many times before, he has praised LeBron's greatness publicly. He has acknowledged his basketball, IQ, and dominance. So this was never some outright attack. That's why people call it a subtle shot. It wasn't direct, it was layered. It was a kind of comment where fans connect the dots themselves, but sometimes those subtle comments hit harder than direct criticism because they feel more honest. They feel less performative, and fans love reading between the lines, especially in basketball culture, where legacy debates never stop for even one day. At the end of the day, the reason this conversation exploded is because fans are tired of polished answers. They miss raw personalities. They miss players speaking from emotion instead of strategy. Allen Iverson still talks like someone who survived basketball instead of someone who managed a basketball empire. And whether you agree with him or not, that energy resonates with people